Good afternoon and aloha. My name is Chuck Parker. I'm the Vice President of Content here at PBS Hawaiʻi. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for this exclusive event featuring a sneak preview of the PBS Hawaiʻi Presents film Vanishing Voices, Saving Our Hawaiian Forest Birds. This episode you just watched premieres on our broadcast Thursday, December 26th. That's a week from this coming Thursday, December 26th at 8:30 p.m. And will also be available on our website at pbshawaii.org and on our YouTube channel at PBS Hawaiʻi. On your screen, you see a QR code. Please consider a gift to PBS Hawaiʻi. Thanks to viewers like you, we can continue to provide free virtual screenings, events, and programs like these. Joining us this afternoon for our discussion is Todd Robertson, the producer-director of the wonderful film you just saw, and Emma Shelley from the American Bird Conservancy. Before we get into the discussion, I want to acknowledge some of the viewers who are stuck with us here from all over the planet, actually. We have folks from Manalani Heights here in Honolulu, from San Francisco on the continent, even from China. Thank you for waking up with us at 7:30 in the morning tomorrow in China. And aloha to the fourth graders at Keonapoko Elementary in Pahoa on the island of Hawaii. I would love to get a question from one of the fourth graders there. First off, before I ask a question, I want to read a comment here from Susie. Thank you so much for this beautiful informational video. I'll be praying for all those scientists, about these scientists and birds. So Todd, I have a question for you, to start off here. Tell us how you got involved in this film and what you were hoping to achieve.
Yeah, so I've been a filmmaker for quite a while, and I got a call from some folks at the American Bird Conservancy a few years ago, and they asked me if I'd be interested in putting together a film, a documentary about the native Hawaiian honey creepers, and I thought, wow, that would be an amazing opportunity. However, I really don't know anything about these birds. And so I thought, once I kind of dug into it, that it would be a really good idea to learn a lot more for myself, but then find a way that we can really bring this information about these wonderful birds who are such an important part of our identity in Hawaii, for the culture, the history, and so that people can really understand what the birds are facing right now and how important they are to protect them.
Well, thank you for that. Emma from the American Bird Conservancy. Tell us about your organization, your role in this effort to save the Hawaiian forest birds.
Yeah, great question. So American Bird Conservancy works to save birds, mainly on mainland US, but we also do work really where birds go. So we do a lot of seabird work, and we do work in Hawaii as well. And we are part of this big umbrella organization called Birds Not Mosquitos. We are one of many partners, including state, federal, and other nonprofits that are all involved in saving these incredible birds that are only found here in Hawaii and have been here before people. And so I do a lot of outreach work to educate people about these birds. They're difficult to see if you don't know where to look, or if you live on Oahu like I do, they can be pretty scarce. But we also have people from the partnership that are in the field doing the mosquito deployments, as well as a whole bunch of scientists that are looking at the data and figuring out the best path forward.
Thank you. I'm going to go to a question from one of our viewers who was sent in. Actually, the question came in before the filming ended. Question from Y Side Soja, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly. How does this affect the overall ecological balance of the animals that say eat the mosquito for food? Would it be detrimental if it wiped out all populations of mosquitoes with this effort?
Great question. Short answer is no. So we have to remember that mosquitoes are not native to Hawaii. So all of the animals that are native to Hawaii, like our bat, for example, and our birds, evolved without ever really needing to eat mosquitoes, evolved without them being part of their diet. So if we remove mosquitoes from Hawaii, we're not really impacting the diet of anything native that lives here and relies on mosquitoes. Same with plants, right? Male mosquitoes don't bite, they're actually pollinators. But all of our plants here in Hawaii that are native, again, evolved for millions of years without mosquitoes. So we take mosquitoes out of the system, and we're not really having an impact on anything native, which is really lucky for us.
That's great. So, Todd, I want to go back to you. Talk a little bit about the logistics of getting all the footage you needed to tell this story. How long did that take, and What was the most challenging task?
Oh, so I think the most challenging thing was really kind of understanding what the birds are going through, number one, but also trying to figure out a way to put this story together in a very compelling, hopefully emotionally compelling and moving way that people would want to get involved. We talked about this film, working on it for 2 or 3 years before we actually got into production. So that was a big part of our logistics, was just the planning and the research and all the work that we had to do up front. The other part of it is you see all this wonderful bird footage in the documentary that comes from multiple different photographers that have been doing this for over a decade. And some of these people go out into the wild and they'll spend 2 or 3 weeks at a time just trying to capture that perfect shot of the bird. So having this tremendous library of amazing footage of these birds was just really fortunate to have, because we had these great partners on this project as part of the Birds Not Mosquito project. So and then of course the animation and post-production, and it just goes on and on. There's just a lot of work that goes into this.
You both now mentioned that that phrase or that program, birds not mosquitoes, which has been around for a little bit. But I want to then ask how the name that you came up with the title for the film, Todd, from birds not mosquitoes to vanishing voices. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we went through quite a few different options of what the title could be. We even, I think, we're toying with the idea of something like Mosquito Wars at one point, which was a little too bold and maybe suggestive around kind of battle and war. But I think what the idea of the title really came from the idea that we're not hearing these birds anymore. You go out in the forest anywhere, and you even heard it from some of the people in the film that we used to hear these birds 10 years ago in the forest, and we're not hearing them anymore because they're just not there.
I'm going to ask a couple questions back to back. I want to have you talk about this, Emma. One from Francisco Perez. This will backfire, mark my words, fix the river streams. And I'm assuming he's talking about the process here. And then also from Wyside Soja, whom we heard from earlier, restore the ahupua'a and the way of life, and you restore the natural environment. Can you kind of address what those two viewers are talking about?
So I believe Francisco's alluding to the fact that mosquitoes breed in water. And so if you basically restore or manage the streams in such a way that there are no mosquito larvae, you would solve the problem without needing to use the incompatible male mosquitoes. I'll try to keep this brief. There are a couple points. First is that there is a bacterial solution called BTI, which is basically it's approved, and you can put it in streams, and this bacteria interferes with the larvae, actually kills the mosquito larvae, and it is a management method that we are using in the field. So we're not just relying on the incompatible mosquitoes. They are the best tool, but we are also using this kind of stream management approach with this BTI bacteria. The second point, though, is that these mosquitoes, the part of the problem is that they breed in almost anything, right? A pig walks by and leaves hoof prints on the forest floor, and it rains and it creates a little puddle. You have a mosquito breeding ground. So addressing the streams, even if you could go out and treat every single stream in these giant watersheds, it's not going to be enough to control the mosquitoes, which is why we're so hopeful for the incompatible insect technique as part of what we call like an integrated pest management, where we're using this plus things like BTI, plus getting rid of pigs that can create these wallows to really help protect the birds. So it's one piece of a big puzzle, but we're confident that it could work. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And actually, this leads perfectly into another question from Stephanie Pickett, tuning in from Kealakekee High School on the Kona side of the Big Island. She asked, what can we do at the high school level to help our native birds? And what can we do in our community here on Hawaii Island to help? So kind of a two-point question there.
Okay. I can start, Todd, and then if you have anything else, feel free to add in. The biggest thing is what we're asking people to do is just spread the word about the birds themselves. Again, like I said, not a lot of people even really know the names of a honey creeper, let alone what they look like. So be their advocate. If you watch the film and you enjoy it, talk to people about it, learn the birds' names, engage people in their stories. Stephanie, if you are a teacher, please reach out to the Birds Not Mosquitoes Instagram, and we'll be happy to send you along some honey creeper Pokemon cards for your classroom. Or if you know a teacher that would like that, please feel free. Plant native trees. Especially if you're on Big Island or Hawaii Island, you do have a lot of native honey creepers that are still around. So planting native trees will help provide a food source. Get rid of any standing water that you might have in your school or in your community. Empty, watering cans that still have a little layer of water on the bottom. Standing buckets of water, all that is mosquito habitat. So if we can reduce that, that would also help to reduce mosquito numbers.
Do you want anything to add to what Emma was saying?
Absolutely. As a storyteller, sharing the story is so important. And with this film, we're doing one part of that. But I think if you can get involved in telling the story to your family, to your friends, if you want to get involved in putting together some social media posts, follow the Birds Not Mosquitoes social Instagram and things, and you can kind of share some of the things that they're doing. I think beyond that, I've heard some folks talk about there's a lot of reforestation efforts that are happening around the islands that are replanting native trees. And I think, so what I've heard is that, if we can solve this, if we can turn this around to where the birds can actually start coming back down from the mountains, they're going to want happy places to live. And so get involved in some of those reforestation efforts and plant a ohia tree in your yard if you can, those kinds of things.
I wanted to ask you both, and whoever wants to jump in first is fine. Talk about the urgency of this effort here, and then reaction you're getting to the message you're sending. Todd, we'll start with you on that.
Well, obviously it's extremely urgent. This is happening at an alarming rate. I didn't know until we started doing research. Being done is extremely urgent. And yeah, so I think that getting involved any way you can immediately is a really good thing. This isn't something that's happened 20 years ago or is going to happen in 20 years from now. It's happening right now.
Emma, any thoughts?
I think you just have to look at the Kiki bird to see what the sense of urgency is. Our updated numbers from the field have less than 4 individuals that are in the wild. And this bird was just declared functionally extinct in the wild, which means that with those 4 individuals, it's not capable of sustaining a population. And so for all intents and purposes, that bird is essentially extinct. We talk about an extinction conveyor belt, where Kiki just went off the end of this conveyor belt. But there's all these other species that are right behind that are getting closer and closer and closer to this edge. So unless we can put the brakes on this extinction conveyor belt with things like IIT, right, then we're just going to keep losing these species. And we really are at a crisis point for a lot of them.
With the Kiki, that bird, so you said for all intents and purposes extinct in the wild, but there are some that have been captured and they're being taken care of in captivity. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. So Pakele, the female that was mentioned in the film as being one of the last wild Kiki that keeps reproducing, we actually have some of her offspring in captivity, and they are breeding in captivity, which is great news. But the hope is that eventually when mosquitoes are taken care of, we'll be able to reintroduce them in the wild. So we have what we call an insurance population essentially in captivity.
That's great. Question from PT. Is there a way to vaccinate birds against avian malaria? I mean, it sounds, how do you get a bird to vaccinate? But it's a good question. I mean, what do you say to that?
So, no. Short answer, no.
Yeah.
In some zoos, the researchers cite this example a lot. They're working on a vaccine for things like penguins, right, which live in Arctic environments. You bring them into a tropical zoo, they get bitten by a mosquito, and they're really susceptible to malaria. In terms of wild birds, not only would you have to catch every single wild bird that's out in the forest, but that vaccine immunity does not transfer to their offspring. So how would you keep vaccinating the population for generations, right? Vaccines might work for a captive situation in certain instances, but not for a wild population of birds. unfortunately.
Yeah, good question, great answer. Thank you. A comment from, and it's combined here, I think it's Alice Roberts, bromeliads hold water, flush your plants. This goes back to you were speaking to earlier about being aware of mosquito breeding areas, even in your own garden. You know, yes, these forest birds are not down where most of us live, but mosquitoes are going to breed anywhere they can. And so it behooves all of us to, you know, be aware and take care. So would you consider, and I hate to use this phrase, but I'm going to throw it out there, this effort a last ditch effort, or is that overstating the situation? I mean, how would you characterize where we're at right now?
I would characterize it as last ditch is a little too dire. I think this is a hopeful tool. I think this is a tool that I think they said in the film addresses a problem that we've known has been here for a long time. And until recently, we didn't have a tool that could work on this landscape level. And now that we do, I think it's really lit a fire of hope under a lot of people, and people are really excited about it. In the future, who knows? There could be people that develop better tools for dealing with this situation. But I think right now this is our single best tool.
Want to ask you about how this film came about. What was the funding mechanism to get this film done and available to the public, to educate the public? How did that work?
So it was funded by a couple sources. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service contributed funding. American Bird Conservancy did as well. Department of Interior was another big funder, as well as the state of Hawaii, DLNR specifically. So a lot of different people kind of combined efforts and made this happen.
And I'd probably jump in also, if you don't mind, Chuck, and just say that we at High Perspective funded it with a whole lot of love.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. It's a very dynamic. I want to congratulate you and your team, Todd. It's a very dynamic film. It holds you, you know, and it's a 30-minute film, but it feels like it's 10 minutes because it goes by so fast and it's powerful. You did a wonderful job all the way through. We have another question here from Desmond Yap. Is there anything else contributing to the detriment of these native birds besides the mosquitoes?
Yes, but mosquitoes are by far the biggest offender in terms of pushing them to extinction. Other things though, like habitat loss, obviously a big thing. I look out my window here in Oahu and there's no native forest that I can really see left. You know, it's all just apartments and housing, right? So habitat loss, introduced predators. We all know the mongoose, cats, rats, all those can take a toll on native birds. So those are also contributing factors. But again, like if we're ranking them, mosquitoes are definitely at the top.
So Todd, going back to how you put the film together. So you get contacted by the American Bird Conservancy, you say yes, you start the process, and then you've got to go get this footage and get some interviews, and then you've got, inevitably with putting together any project, you come back with wheelbarrows full or reams of different, whatever the phrase is, of material. So how do you figure how to start? How did you figure how to start the film the way you ended up starting it?
Well, the first step for me was I started talking to people in the community and asking people about what their awareness level was when it came to the birds and also the mosquitoes. And I found that most people, and I would say almost all people, had very little awareness of about the birds because we never see them. And pretty much very little or no awareness about the mosquito problem and how that's affecting the birds. So the second question we asked was, how do we make this compelling? How do we make this so that people, can watch it from beginning and end to have it as a compelling story? Because when you hear the idea, it's like, we're going to make a documentary about birds that nobody ever sees and mosquitoes that are attacking them. That almost sounds like abstract. Like, how do we make that real for people? And so answering those questions first was really the toughest part. I think putting together all the material and the terabytes and terabytes of data that we had once we captured everything, it certainly wasn't easy, but it was actually kind of easier than answering some of those tougher questions in the beginning.
Oh, that's great. I want to ask you both of you another question. So this is the second film in 2 months that we're running on this topic, this effort to save native Hawaiian forest birds. And a member of our team here at PBS Hawaii did a separate story on the effort specifically on Maui through our Malcolm Mackay climate change initiative. So there's a lot of momentum. At least it feels that way. So to each of you, is there momentum? Is the message getting out? I mean, we have two schools at Kealakehe and Keone Poko, both on the Big Island, tuning in. Is there momentum to create this awareness and to get people involved?
I'll jump in first and let you follow up.
Sure.
I would say, from my perspective, absolutely. I think we're seeing a shift in awareness. Like I said, before we started this project, we had very, very little awareness. I want to say 4 years ago is when we started. Till now, people are coming to me and asking me, saying, "Hey, I saw that film that you guys are working on, and want to know more. Where do I go?" Those are the right questions, and I love hearing from schools that are asking about it. That's, I guess, an indicator to me that it's going to be educating our next generation and bringing them up to a level of awareness that none of us had.
Emma, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I just want to say on the ground, the amount of people that come by when we're tabling or doing an event and know who we are and support what we do has just been so encouraging. So you definitely feel like there is support and momentum. And adding on to that, 2024, it's wrapping up now, but was designated Makahiki Onamanu Nahele, or Year of the Hawaiian Forest Bird, right, Native Forest Bird. And so I think there is a lot of public awareness of the issues that are going on. And I see it every time I table and I talk to people, and people have recognized me as that bird lady from the news and things. So I mean, I feel like the news is getting out there, and I think the only way we can keep going is now that we have the momentum, let's not lose the steam and let's really make a difference while we can save these birds.
Well, that's a perfect transition to a comment from Suzanne. Please provide a list of organizations to make donations for effort and how each will specifically benefit. I am a teacher, this is Suzanne speaking, and my students would like to adopt a bird if there is a way to do that. So those kind of programs exist, something that Suzanne is talking about?
To my knowledge, they don't really have symbolic adoptions, which is what I think Suzanne would like, but I'm going to encourage you to reach out to two of our partners, Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project and Kauai Forest Bird Recovery Project. Both of these organizations are doing on-the-ground conservation work. They're doing bird monitoring, so they're looking and counting and recording the number of birds they see. They're doing bird habitat management, getting rid of ungulates, fencing the forest. They're doing the mosquito releases. So these are the organizations that are kind of directly on the ground right now that are helping these birds out. Both of them take donations. Both of them would appreciate donations and would love to connect with you about ways that perhaps your students can help support. I know that sometimes students have been able to go up and visit these organizations, at least the headquarters. So probably the best way to reach them is through their Instagram. I know they check their messages pretty frequently on there. So Kauai Forest Bird and Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project.
Very good. Couple things continuing that thought. This is a question came earlier from Sandra Mori. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Sandra. How are the 5 alala that have been released recently? I think this was on Maui?
Yes.
Yeah.
So alala, the Hawaiian crow. In the past, there have been some reintroductions that have not gone so well, normally because of hawks. EO are predators of alala, and the captive raised alala don't have that experience really with hawks. But the ones on Maui right now, I think, are doing very well. They are free flying. They have a base where they come in and get food, and then essentially they're able to explore their surrounding forest. But researchers are there keeping an eye on them. That's definitely a Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project question. I'm more a honey creeper than a crow person, but I am happy to report that I think they're doing pretty well last I heard.
That's great. 2 words you mentioned, I want to, real quick, can you explain what you meant by ungulates? Not everybody may know that term.
Ungulates are hoofed mammals. So pigs, goats, cows, sheep, all those fall under the category of ungulates. And unfortunately, a lot of those are invasive and free roaming.
Okay, and then you mentioned the EO, which is the Hawaiian hawk, and I think the the reference there was a release a few years back of Alala on the Big Island, and the hawk won essentially. It was a predator. It's a predator bird, and it that effort unfortunately didn't work, but the program is still going. I think it's through the San Diego Zoo. They have a facility on Maui as well.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, that's cool. We have a few minutes left here. Just wanted to kind of get from either of you thoughts about steps forward. People are asking what they can do to help, to be involved in this project. I'll start with you, Todd. Any suggestions, advice, guidance that you can provide people who are interested in being a part of the solution?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think following some of the social media accounts like the Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project, the Kauai Forest Bird Recovery Project, Birds Not Mosquitos, this is a tremendous source of information to keep informed about how things are going, and then sharing those stories. I think sharing the story that we shared with this film, but also sharing what's going on and keeping that forward. Also look for, if you are interested in, connecting with your legislators. I don't know how much it's going to help, Emma. That's probably more your court, but my thinking is if you talk to your legislators and maybe some kind of bill can get formed for a grant and aid or other kinds of work that can be done with the DLNR to try to support more of this conservation work moving forward, because these birds are part of a huge problem relating to climate change. And so there's just so many things that we can do to make a difference.
Emma, any thoughts there?
Agree. Yes, we've heard that letters of support to legislators, to representatives are appreciated and well heard. We don't want the people that are opposed to it to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. We found that a lot of our supporters support but don't feel the need to reach out and declare their support. So if you do, that is a great avenue to assist, is just write letters of support. There's a statewide, what we call an environmental assessment, coming out next year that the Department of Health is putting out, and that will have an area to submit testimony for this incompatible mosquito release. And so if this is something that you support, next year we'll have more details on it, but it's coming out and we encourage public testimony. If you're a teacher, please show the film to your students. If we can do in-classroom presentations, that's something that we're going to make a push more towards in 2025. Or if you know of any community events where we could table and spread the word, please reach out. We would be happy to go where we can. But we really encourage you guys to be the voices in the community and be the advocates for these birds too.
Excellent. Well said. Todd, one quick question. So what's next for Hyperspective? If folks what's your next project, if you can reveal it?
Well, we're working on quite a few things. Partnering with some guys some people on the island of Maui right now, relating to a documentary about the Lahaina fires and sort of water restoration efforts that are taking place over there on that side of the island. I think in general, my company and myself, Hyperspective, our mission is to inspire positive change, and we've really found that the places that we can make the biggest effort and the biggest impact is within areas of environmental issues, environmental justice, and then of course social justice, anything relating to problems in our communities and we have plenty of them. So there's lots of stories that people need to hear, and I think that kind of finding solutions to how we move forward in the world is what we're really interested in telling.
So thank you for that, and good luck with that, and thank you for your efforts, and thank you, Emma, for your efforts as well on the topic we're talking about today. And I want to make a point, and I'll make it a little earlier when I close today's session, is Todd has agreed to allow this film to be on our website and our YouTube page going forward. The broadcast premiere is coming up, but it'll be on the YouTube page and the website. So for you teachers out there who want your classrooms to see this, or even other classrooms within the school or other schools, please spread the word and let them know, because it is a film that's full of great information. And the more, as we've heard, the more people know about it, perhaps the more we can work together to achieve the solution we all want. So this concludes our panel discussion for this afternoon. Thank you all for spending time with us. Again, we're sorry if we couldn't get to all the questions. There was a lot of them coming in. Thank you, folks, for doing that. Really appreciate it. PBS Hawaii will be sending you an audience survey through email for your feedback on today's event. This helps our team continue to improve our screenings. If you have a moment, please offer your insight and feedback for us. Also on your screen is a QR code, as I mentioned earlier. Please consider a gift to PBS Hawaii. Thanks to viewers like you, we can continue to provide free virtual screenings, events, and other things like this. To donate, simply scan the code with your phone. Some of you are really good at that. It'll take you directly to the donate page on our website. Again, the episode that you saw tonight, Vanishing Voices Saving Our Hawaiian Forest Birds, premieres on broadcast Thursday, December 26th. That's the day after Christmas at 8:30 p.m. But it could also be visible on our website at pbshawaii.org and on our YouTube channel at PBS Hawaii. On behalf of myself, Chuck Parker, our panelists, and the rest of our team here at PBS Hawaii, mahalo and aloha and a Merry Christmas to everyone.